So in this video, we want to talk about milling a head separately from the rest of the piece. And so a lot of times with a head that you would have the supports underneath. And this case is no different because we want to mill the top straight down on top. And we also want to be able to mill all the way around the outside. So that leaves us no choice but to support it from underneath. So that's why I put the supports down there. All right, so we're going to go into the builder and see what we can set up here. I'll put those supports in, and it's going to hand over what it thinks I should use for a strategy, and that looks fine to me. It's going to mill this piece at the end of a round solid tube, and so we're going to use a 22 millimeter just like it suggests. And here's where we really get the options for this kind of strategy. Do we want to do milling 4 sides around or 8 sides around because it comes in at the 45-degree angles there? Or do we just want it to hit the top with the horizontal cutter and then just slowly rotate and mill around the outside? Well, since it is a cylindrical object, I would suggest that in this case we do the last option here, rotary chuck plus top. So let's try that. Okay, so it's made the toolpath, and by the way, it does not matter so much where your model sits in relationship to F4, the center of the grid. It's always going to drop when with the horizontal cutter. It's always going to go past F4 5 millimeters. So most of the time, you're going to have to adjust that. So let's see what it did here. Okay, so going around on the rotary looks fine, but let's change this one. Looks like it did not go down quite far enough to pierce through the inside of the bezel, and there it is. So we're going to adjust that real quick. If we double click on part 1, we're going to go into cut depth, and as soon as you do, it's going to bring up a cutter that represents the cutter that's going to come down and cut through there. So if we click on go, we can activate that, and when we do, we get the double arrows, and we can drop this cutting plane down just a little bit so it pierces through the bottom. So when I press enter, it's going to set that down, and I'm going to have to hit make path to redo it. Okay, so it's done it now. So if we take a look at that, rotary is the same, but the horizontal cutter is going to get further down there, and we see a lot of lines going on with the tool pathing because it's added in an automatic roughing pass for us. It did not want to plunge too far, so evidently that was just a little further than what it wanted to go without protecting that cutter. So that's fine. We'll just leave it as it is. So that's a nice option for a cylindrical type head that we want to just mill separately. So let's go back out now, clear this out, and let's bring up a head that's not cylindrical in shape, that is square. Okay, so let's take this same scenario here. We have a lot of detail on the sides and down through the top. So the least important to us is underneath, so that's where the supports are at. So we'll go into the builder. Same thing, throw it in, get our supports in there, and it wants us to do the same type of strategy here because of where the supports are at. So we'll leave the 22 millimeter round solid, and in this case, since this is a squared off head here, we're going to actually use the first option, 4 sides chuck plus top. The rotary was not going to help us a whole lot on this one. We want to be able to have that cutter cut all along this one side, straight down on top of it, and then rotate it 90 degrees and get the next side, and so on and so forth. So this would be a good option for us. So it's created that for us. Let's take a look at this. Okay, we have the one coming down with the horizontal cutter down through the top there. It's added that automatic roughing pass for us. That's fine. And then in part 2 is the rest of the cuts. So we'll take a look at those. Okay, so it's going to hit each side equally. So there's another great option for doing a head. This time, the squared off version of a head, it can be done starting up the same strategy, just choosing a different sides option.